All right, last thing we're going to do is we're going to create a risk analysis scatter graph. What this is going to show us is show us the potential risks for your project, the amount of damage they would do, whether it's monetarily or some other number, and a percentage that they happen. It shows, when done, a very nice chart showing what you need to worry about, what you don't need to worry about. So to build this, we're going to build this in Excel, and we have three columns. We have the risk, we have the damage from the risk, and we have the probability. The risks are simply what could potentially occur. So I want to see what could potentially happen to my house. There could be a fire there. Since Pittsburgh, could have a flood. I could have wind damage, and I could have, Godzilla hits. So the damage from this, you decide on the scale. Typically, the larger the number, the worse the scale. So a fire could be potentially devastating. Let's say a fire is going to cost you, I'm going to use a scale between 1 and 100, 1 being very little, 100 being catastrophic. So a fire could do a big chunk of damage. I live on top of the hill. I don't flood very often. But since I live on top of the hill, I get a lot of wind damage. So I just come up with these numbers, and I'm not expecting you to be perfect on these. Just use your head when you come up with them. There's a whole branch of statistics that worry about how much damage you get from a particular risk, what the chances are. I just want you to think about it and come up with a good number. Well, Godzilla, if he walks through my neighborhood, house is toast. The only thing that'll survive is probably the cat. She's too tough to kill. So now we got to worry about the probability. I've got an old house, pretty high probability. I'm going to use a number between 1 and 10. Again, 10 more likely, 1 being least likely. So I've got a pretty high chance of fire. Top of the hill, flood's not very happen. Actually a little more higher than that, 2. Wind damage, that's pretty high. We'll put that at a 7. Godzilla is pretty unlikely, putting Godzilla down at a 1. Okay, so here's my risks and damage and probability. There are so many things that can go wrong in a project. This chart could be 50, 60 pages long. Limit yourself. Don't go crazy. 10 risks is probably a good number at this point. So now I'm going to build the charts. You highlight the damage and the probability sections. You ignore the risk for right now. I'll pull those back in a minute. This goes totally against any Excel work you've ever done where you've always highlighted the entire chart. I just want the damage and the probability. I'll go to my Insert menu, and I'm going to pick from my charts, I'm going to pick whichever of these scatter charts you like. I'll pick that first one. I'm going to zoom out so you can see it. So here's my charts. Each one of these numbers represents one of the values over here. I need to put some formatting. In particular, I want the words to appear. So I'm going to click once in the data series. You see how all the dots get selected. I'm going to right-click one of those dots. I'm going to add data labels. What occurs now, this is the probability. So what this chart is showing is over here, I have a damage from Godzilla. It's not very likely to happen, but the damage is pretty high. Up here, this is wind damage. High probability of happening, decent amount of damage. I need the words fire, flood, wind damage, Godzilla to appear next to these names. So with these selected still, I'm going to right-click. I'm going to go to Format, Data Labels, and I'm going to uncheck the Y value, and I'm going to turn on Value from Cells. It's going to ask me what the cell range is, and that's these titles over here. So I'm going to highlight my titles. I'm going to hit OK. And now I have wind damage, fire, flood, Godzilla. What this chart is very useful is identifying what it is you need to pay the most attention to and defend against. Since I live in the hill, I'm not too worried about Godzilla. If it happens, there's nothing I can do about it, so I'm not going to worry about it and plan against it. But wind damage, I can plan against. So I put in heavy-duty storm windows and better doors, and I batten down the satellite dish. Fire, likewise, is pretty likely to occur, so I have fire extinguishers on all the floors. I have a fire plan. Flood, I'm not going to worry about a flood. I am literally in one of the highest points in Pennsylvania. It does not flood. I get water in my basement. but that's not a flood. So I'm not going to worry about where the boat is or who's building the ark this week. So this chart will let me see I need to pay attention to these guys, not these guys so much. For more formatting, of course, you can come over here. Like if you don't like where the words are, put it above, below, etc. You can also color these whatever you like here. I don't like them on this sheet. I like them on their own sheet. So typically when I'm done with my graph, I'll right-click these. I will move charts to its own sheet. I like this because I'm old and blind, and I like having big charts that I can file prints. If these numbers are too small, you can make them bigger. Just play around with these options over here. Okay. So that's a scatter chart. Build your chart, add it in.